The area that we're in, from the time you come off of a hard top road and come up to our camp, is about somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 miles. And on each side of the road, all the way up, is maple trees, nothing but maple. Some of them which have not been touched. The woods hasn't been touched for over 100 years. My name is Swartzentruber. I'm with Spruce Knob Maple, and there's a group of us brothers that went together and put the business together. We've been in business about 4 years now. There's 7 of us brothers that have grown up in the sugar industry. Our granddad used to do it, and then my uncle did it. He was very widely known, Henry Brenneman. We would help him every year, and we always looked forward to that, and we enjoyed it. And then, unfortunately, he had cancer and passed away. And so we were kind of left with our hands open because we enjoyed the sugaring, but we never had the opportunity to get a sugaring operation. A couple years ago, the gentleman that put this sugar camp together was getting older, and he approached us about maybe taking his sugar camp on, and we really have gotten to enjoy coming together for the 6 weeks of sugaring. We're all in and out of camp a lot, and one reason is that because it's not big enough to support us all year round. So we had all these businesses before we started the sugaring operation. So we have, one of us does a dairy farm. We all grew up on a dairy farm. One of them does landscaping, and then also in the wintertime drives sport as a paramedic. We have an excavator. One of the brothers does rustic furnitures. Another one does concrete. One of them does produce farming, plus he hauls mini barns for another gentleman. So we all have different businesses that we all come together for 6 weeks. We're all kind of focused on this, but the rest of the time we are still focusing on and pulling these other businesses together. It's been a challenge to always be able to pull everybody together, but it's been good to have each one of us have a unique skill set that we can all plug into this business. We are in beautiful mountainous area of Harmon, West Virginia, which is about 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh, or 2.5 hours from DC. The camp sits at about 3,500 feet of elevation. Our highest taps are typically right around 4,000 feet. So we have a good bit of weather variation. So today is a big day for us as far as cleaning. We have all the partners came in today, and we all have different jobs that we're doing. We're just going through everything, cleaning everything, prepping everything, so that come January, February, when it's cold in the sugar camp, we're not fighting to try and make sure everything's clean. We just have to do a dusting, and everything's ready to go then. We start prepping for tapping the middle of January. Shoot to have everything tapped by the end of January. And then sometime around Valentine's Day, February the 14th, is typically when we can expect to see sap start running. We can expect to see about 1.7 sugar content. As the season progresses, we'll drop down to like 1%, somewhere in there. We typically tap around 17,000 trees. A good sap year for us is about 4,500 gallons of syrup. We can expect a week of good warm weather, unfortunately, sometime in that period, and we typically can run till April the 1st is kind of, we're starting to see some of our red maples start to bud out low, and so that changes our sap flavor. Up high, we have pretty well all sugar maples. Probably 80% of our crop is from a sugar maple tree. Most people don't realize that West Virginia has a lot of maple trees, especially in this region. So sugaring in West Virginia, in this area or this region, from what I understand, is very close to Vermont's climate. Everything I've been hearing with maple syrup that comes from this area, it compares very closely to Vermont. Everybody says it tastes a lot like that. So I guess it's the mineral content and then also the elevation. Unfortunately, we can expect to see at least a week of warm weather where we don't get any of the freezing is what we're needing. We're not worried as much about thawing, but we're worried about freezing to reset everything. And that's the biggest problem with this region is we have to have that freeze thaw. Currently, we are the largest producer in the state of West Virginia. Our goal in 5 years is to be looking at having approximately 20 to 25,000 taps. From what I'm seeing of the numbers in the last 2 years, it's not an unattainable goal. We are slowly working into stores, but probably 80% of our sales are wholesale. And we are very happy to see pretty well all of our syrup in the last 2 years wholesale has stayed in the region. So there's other producers that buy syrup from us, smaller producers that don't have enough production to meet their demands. So far, the evaporator and the equipment, supporting equipment, has been great. We've been blessed to have good equipment. We have a gas-fired evaporator, which is super clean. Growing up, we were used to wood fire. So the one nice thing is, if there's something going wrong or you're done cooking, with a wood fired, we had to worry about, when do we need to start shutting down. With the gas fired, it's just a flip of a switch and you can, 15, 20 minutes, you can have everything cleaned up and you're out the door. You can go to bed and sleep. I think West Virginia is a prime area that is virtually untouched for the maple industry. And very obviously, there's more interest in it than there was 4 or 5 years ago. We've had a lot of people come to us and want input on how to get started. So it's interesting that we're seeing the industry, the West Virginia region or Appalachian region, it's interesting to see that interest start to grow. Why there wasn't interest before, honestly, I don't know. It's rewarding to see or taste a good maple syrup. I'm not worried as much about color. We're always worried more about, number one is the bricks there, and number two, what's the flavor like? And we have excellent flavor. It's been a challenge sometimes to always get the lightest syrup, but we're focused more on flavor. Region-wise, I've found more and more people are looking for that little bit darker syrup that has the better flavoring that carries that through. The light syrup is great to put in a window and show off. But if I'm looking for syrup to put on my pancakes, I'm looking for a good amber maple syrup. If somebody asks you, can you get maple syrup, and everybody wants Vermont maple syrup, I'd like to see where in the region people are like, you want maple syrup? Well, yeah, I want the West Virginia maple syrup. I'd like to see that eventually. And just being open and being able to, or willing to help people, I think we'll get there. Because we're trying to get a video put together, okay?